They forgot the lyrics, right? Simple Minds there. I am Morning Dave. This is the early morning show, and we're at 8:42. Just a minute here. That one there.
Advisory services offered through Second Half Financial Partners, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. The opinions voiced and information provided in this material are for general informational purposes only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which investments are appropriate for you, please consult with a financial advisor. Second Half Financial Partners, LLC does not provide tax or legal advice. Please consult your tax or legal advisor regarding your particular situation.
And me this time check in and see what your legal and tax advisor ought to be telling you, because we're checking in on the markets with the help of Philip Statler from Statler Financial Services in downtown Sebring. Boy, Philip, it's amazing what the news on the war can do in the process. We just kind of slid down a fire pole most of yesterday until President Trump declared that he was going to extend the ceasefire, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, if he'd made that announcement maybe a little earlier, maybe we would have ended up in the green yesterday. But definitely red across the board with, I think the Russell probably getting beat up the most yesterday.
Yeah, it looks like.
Talk about the war. It's an up and down thing.
Absolutely. It's interesting. Talk about the mood of the market. And we chatted about this for a while yesterday, that the swings in the marketplace haven't been as vociferous off of President Trump's threats. And yeah, he does tend to overstate the worst case scenario while he's negotiating in public. Well, as the day progressed yesterday, we started saying, wait a minute, is he going to change his mind, or is he really going to do something? Is he? And the confidence went down, and the Dow ended up down 293 points. Standard & Poor's down 0.6 of a point, 45. NASDAQ lost almost 0.6 of a point, down 144. You're right, the Russell 2000, the one that set the record the day before, went down a full 1% as we started getting a little bit nervous as to whether or not something could happen or would. Then the president waited until after trading was done to say, heck, let's extend it for a while. This could give a guy a headache.
And I don't know, I didn't see, but did he say how long he was extending it?
Indefinite, they say. But then again, Iran turned around and started shooting at two tankers going by the Strait of Hormuz. So this might be something where the saber rattling is going to start again on our side of the pond before you know it.
Might be short-lived, huh?
It could very well be. Right now, the word is indefinite, as long as they're willing to talk and maybe not shoot down tankers. Evidently, we're going to be on an indefinite ceasefire. But still, I mean, it was amazing. The announcement comes in, and then when we get to the futures, folks will see, all of a sudden we turn things around and optimism reigns supreme again, and my fear and greed index from the amateur investor is back up, bumping its nose on extreme greed. It kind of brings us up to today. What's the impact of all of this on the stock market? When a big guy like Goldman Sachs doesn't even know, you know we're in trouble here. I got two different strategists from Goldman Sachs. One of them says, hey, everything's hunky-dory. Expect the Standard & Poor's 500 to go up 7% by the year's end, finish up at 7,600. That'll be another 600 points over where it's at this morning. On the other side of the same dang building and the same dang firm, the expectation of a solid year of consuming spending had a stick thrown right in its spokes, and he says we expect real consumption growth over the coming months to decline as higher gas prices do their damage. When we were talking about it before we went on the air, I kind of get the feeling those two dudes don't share an office. What do you think?
Probably not. Probably not. You know, it's, in a big firm like that, you're going to have different opinions. You know, people are going to look at the data differently. And that's really why companies a lot of times do that. They have different analysts, and they will then bring in, number 3, number 4, number 5, number 6, and say, okay, now what do you guys think? And kind of figure out, flip the coin and see who wins.
It's not very often that they have that the same firm has two analysts putting out completely conflicting reports on the same day. I got kind of a giggle out of it down the line. It induces investor schizophrenia, doesn't it?
It does. It makes it rough to try to determine, what people really think is going to happen, because everybody's got an opinion. Every analyst thinks differently and looks at the data differently. And so, who's right and who's wrong, we won't know until December 31st.
Oh, yeah. And like I said, with their level of research budgeting and everything, if they don't know as a firm what's going to go on, how in the heck are we supposed to? Other news items out there down the line. Kevin Warsh, the guy that President Trump wants to take over the Federal Reserve, he was on the hot seat with the Senate yesterday, and he promised on a stack of Bibles to the senators that were grilling him that he has not promised President Trump that he'll reduce interest rates. Almost as if he could unilaterally in the first place anyway, right?
Well, that's right. It takes a vote of the Fed. And granted, he has some, heavy input into what that looks like, but he's only one vote still.
And I found it's their one big concern. Are you going to do what President Trump says? Doesn't matter whether President Trump's smart or dumb, and he's got a batting average like everybody, but as long as you don't do what he tells you to, you're fine with us.
Yeah. What if I happen to agree?
Yeah. The world is a fun place. Big tech starts taking headlines starting after the market closes tonight. Tesla is going to report, and I'm kind of guessing right now that analysts are going to need a really pretty good out-of-the-park number compared to expectations from Tesla, because with the impending IPO for SpaceX, I got to assume that a lot of the investors that are in Tesla are buying Elon Musk. Well, you can now buy Elon Musk in two different places when SpaceX comes out. They probably need a pretty strong quarter compared to expectations, wouldn't you suspect?
Well, I think Tesla, unfortunately, always needs a better than expected outcome, because they're looked at with sometimes that much disdain. Sometimes, it's like, we don't want them to go up, and so I think they've got to over deliver in order for their stock price to really benefit.
Absolutely. And God knows they've had enough problems over the years, some of it self-induced, some of it being just shifts in the emphasis for markets for electric vehicles. But Tesla's had a rough row in terms of production and sales and all of the rest. They had some good news over this past quarter as far as European sales, but they'll be reporting after the market closes, and they're the kind of the beginning of the big tech stocks to come out. In the interim, we got a pile of them that came out over the night and in this morning, and I gather we got some travel news. How did United Airlines do?
United Airlines, they came in and did well. They beat both on earnings and revenue expectations. They put their earnings for this current quarter between $1 and $2 a share. Their guidance was down a little bit, but evidently not enough to hurt the stock price much, because it was trading up about 1.5%. It's flipped, Dave. Doesn't take much. Somebody's parsed through the numbers, and they have gone from being up 1.5 to down 0.1% right now.
Now, not losing off of iffy guidance as badly as some of the companies we've seen report so far have done.
No, that's right. Now, another name that we have talked about on and off quite a bit is Boeing. Boeing reported, and I love this term, they reported better than expected losses. How is any loss good, right?
We didn't take as big a bath as we thought we would. Doggone.
Exactly. So we lost 60 cents less. We only lost 20 cents instead of 80. So, revenue also up. Well, I guess revenue was up just a tad. So that was good. And so all of that says, right, we're up almost 4% this morning in Boeing.
See, that's the bottom line. Just lose less. Don't need to make any money. Yeah.
That's right. Outperform. Just beat the expectations. That's all that matters.
There you go.
Capital One reported, and their report is a little, doesn't go into much detail into why, but they missed on earnings. I will tell you that. And they missed on revenue. So obviously they're down because of that. I just don't know why. I don't know if they had to increase loss reserves for credit cards, which is something I would expect them to be doing because they're big in that market. But I don't have details. So, but they have improved because earlier they were down almost 3%. Now they're only down about 0.25%.
Yeah, the revenue was down. That would be a concern. The top line revenue, but if the profit was down as well, it sounds like it's kind of a mixture of probably both bad debts and another outside force, doesn't it?
Could very well be, exactly.
Yeah.
And then I think this is the last one I've got. AT&T reported. They came in at 57 cents a share versus 55, so they beat both on that and revenue. They were big on adding monthly subscribers, which that's a big deal, right? So they had 294,000 net new subscribers this last quarter, and that was better than the 272 that was expected. Now, they were up 0.5% earlier, but everything's turning around as people read through everything a little bit more. They're actually down 2.33% right now.
I'm still standing on the notion. I think the monthly postpaid figures in cellular service really is becoming a dinosaur, as being a macro that you got to watch with all of the prepaid resellers out there. I still don't get it. Top and bottom line, and find another macro to watch. There's an editorial for the day on the cellular business. Resetting the table, it was an off day yesterday on Wall Street, measurably so, although not catastrophic. 45 minutes before we open this morning, I'm seeing green ink on my delayed quotes. How are we holding up?
They are green inks, Dave, at least on the index. I guess all the way across the board as I look. Dow is up almost 0.6%, as well as the S&P 500. The NASDAQ 100 is up 0.75%, as well as the Russell 2000, same. On the other side, we've got silver making a pretty big jump today, up 1.6%. Gold's up almost 1%. And then crude oil, Davis, passed over 90. It's actually got to $91.30 a barrel, up 1.8%.
Nothing like firing on a couple of oil tankers to do that to you. That's upset some of the overseas markets as well. The Asian Rim was profoundly mixed at 6 a.m. Mainland Chinese markets, both were green at the close, though. Europe is kind of reacting to those oil tanker firings that got mostly red ink across the European community. Average index not down by much. Let's call it maybe 0.05%, but it is red ink halfway through the European trading day. And a lot of that, because it's been changing since I started watching, has got to be a response as much as anything to the Iranians firing on those tankers. Want to find out how to make my retirement happen, and this day-by-day stuff is just not comforting when you're trying to figure out how to retire. How do I find you to get a plan to avoid all that tension?
Devin, give us a call at 863-382-0037. Love to spend 30 minutes with them on the phone, making sure that they have everything lined up and are ready for retirement. And if we can help tweak things, love to do it. If not, hey, look, we'll just tell you you're in good shape and send you on your way to keep doing what you're doing. And then catch the Statler Financial Radio Show this weekend, 6 a.m. and noon on Saturday, 10 a.m. Sunday morning on Highlands News Talk, 7:30 a.m., 95.3 FM.
And newstalk730am.com as well. You have a marvelous day, my friend, and I will see you shortly, all right?
All right, buddy. Have a great day.
Thank you. It's 105.7 Light FM and Statler Financial Services. Philip Statler.
Hey, folks, again, I want to thank you for joining us today. Hope your week's going well. I look forward to speaking to you next week. Bye now.